Okay, so security and support. What does this mean for architecture firms? There's so many things that you could be aware of and you could implement to secure your firm, but this is going to cover what is a reasonable amount to have a secure and thriving business. So at some point, there is a lack of return on investment. So we're going to go over what we're seeing out there and what you can do to pretty easily and effectively implement into your system so that you can have a secure hybrid system. So since the pandemic, most firms have shown that they can go full remote because they were forced to, for good and bad. So I'm sure a lot of you implemented a VPN or some kind of remote desktop system. Maybe you've implemented something like Dropbox to get your files to consultants or just get them to yourself in a pinch. There are a lot of security concerns that came with the have-tos with work. And that's something that we're going to review. What are these backdoors that we've opened up in just trying to get work done? In the old type systems, it was pretty simple. And this goes back to, I would say, about 15 years ago when things started really changing from being behind firewalls to the other side of firewalls. I would say most of the work that is being done right now is actually in the cloud. And if actually you have a VPN system or remote desktop to your office, that's actually a private cloud, so congratulations. So, but what we're looking to do is change the way of thinking from behind the walls, literally and figuratively, to then be a secure internet. That what you're doing is you're securing these private channels to each other, and how to work in that environment. Before it was easy to see. You came into the office, you saw your computers, you knew when the internet was down. These days, that's really not an issue at all. The internet can go down for you, and all of your people can continue working in a hybrid system. So surely there are individual items that can go down. I mean, Facebook went down the other day, and Google goes down now and again in the world, catches its breath. But failing, anything catastrophic, they really come back up pretty quickly. And that is such an advantage to have these very large companies. If they do have a hiccup, they have thousands and thousands of people down, so they almost invariably come back up within minutes, certainly not hours. So moving your items to the cloud, there are a lot of benefits. One is, it doesn't seem like it, but there are significant reduced costs when you do move things to the cloud correctly. An easy example would be 15 years ago or so, a lot of small firms that were even under 10 people would have their own mail server. This was an incredible burden on IT to have a server just for your mail, the backups, the security, and then that went to the cloud. And the costs went down by 80-90%. So it was really fantastic, the changes, how that went to the cloud. And now having people move more and more and just be more comfortable with it will again save your company a lot of money and will keep your performance even higher. Cloud computing also offers a lot of scalability. you can add several staff almost immediately to these services and have people up and running really quickly. Disaster recovery, many of these are backed up on the minute, actually. They're really good backups, and you also have some wonderful versioning. So you can go back years, and this is really good for if you change your design strategy, you can go back a few years and see where you kind of forked off, or use in another similar firm, or any kind of litigation as well. So you can have all of that. It's in the cloud. It's backed up for just pennies on the dollar compared to what it was internally. Additionally, security is significantly higher with cloud than you could possibly have internally. I'm not talking hedge funds again. I'm putting this in the realm of architecture firms. This is much higher security available in the cloud. And another ancillary aspect is it does promote collaboration. A lot of your items will be in the cloud, and there are ways to share with other, not only collaborators, but within the applications that you're using. So you can share things between your project management and your emails and your file storage, and that can all be shared together, and you can audit it to see how it's being used and who's accessing it. It works quite well. So why should you be interested in this discussion? Maybe you're just here for the credits, but we're trying to demystify a little bit what is actually happening with security out there. We just covered quite a bit in the previous slide, and we're going to go a bit deeper now into the specifics. So the last few years, security has increased significantly. Security concerns, the amount of phishing attacks and ransomware, and a number of these things have gone up so much that people are becoming somewhat immune to them, which is great. People have been able to sniff out malicious emails a lot quicker, be it with misspellings, or they can quickly tell from the email header that this is not coming from the person who they say they're coming from. But some other things that we're seeing, especially for architecture firms, things like cyber insurance, that just wasn't a thing a few years ago. And when we started seeing it, we really were looking at the policies themselves, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but it's matured quite a bit, but I think it's going to continue to evolve, and we'll be covering that a little bit later. I also want to comment that we are seeing a number of specialized attacks called spear phishing. That's happening more than we expect, and we've come up with a couple of solutions that we think are very reasonable to tamp down on these, and we've had a few instances that we've been able to save firms from these attacks with these simple policies that we've implemented. So the pandemic. We all went remote rather quickly last March, and we saw things coming, I would say, late January, and we did stop all projects and really did a deep dive into how are we going to get our clients remote if it comes down to it. So we took a week or two off, just hit the brakes on some of our projects in preparations to get our folks remote, and that was time well spent. So we ended up having, depending on the firm, a mix of VPN solutions, remote desktop, moving some clients to cloud, And it's been great to see these firms that have really resisted going remote, and even allowing people to tunnel into the system. We had a few firms that would not allow that. And they've done a complete 180. In fact, some firms have opened up to have architects of record in many different places that they weren't targeting before. So it's actually been pretty great, along with being able to, with the issues with the H-1B visas, we've been able to open up quite a bit to consultants rather than bringing them in full time, and been able to open up the client's networks in a secure way to this new endeavor. So we are going to go over some of the things that we needed to review with our clients in order to get them to a more secure position. The security IT has increased year over year at an accelerated rate. In fact, there is a technical deficit in capable IT security people, and instead of looking to hire someone internally for these endeavors for us, or outsourcing a heavy amount of this, we're looking for solutions that we can implement that just by default are more secure ways to go about this. So we will review those, and so instead of hiring yet another person to take care of the issue, we are looking to mitigate these issues altogether. So here are the 6 main topics we're going to go over, and if time allows, a whole bunch of little interesting items at the end that we'll just review that you may or may not have ever heard of. So security really comes down to 3 things, and that's access, manipulation, and control of your documents or your IP or whatever is your product. And our belief is that we should start to take a defensive posture, or rather, instead of taking a defensive posture and try to fight back against these attacks, we should go through what are the scenarios that could happen to you, what is your most important product, and let's see what kind of exposure you may have, and what would you do and what would happen if that did come about. So that's what we've been doing, is trying to show our clients a few different scenarios for for exposure, and how would that affect their business, and can we put policies and processes in place, and some tech, of course, and see how we can head these issues off. So, access. This is what people think about when they think about security for the most part. Your passwords, your firewalls, how staff is allowed to access the files. So you have your regular files, your CAD standards, your HR, admin, finance, proposals. Usually those 6 different folders are what we see being the makeup of an architecture firm file system. So passwords, we keep seeing the very complicated uppercase, lowercase numbers, wildcards. That really doesn't matter. Also, password expiration. A lot of places want you to reset your password after 60 days or 90 days, and we find that is actually causing you to be at more risk. Most likely, people are just going to add one number different to their password. So whatever it was before, they're just going to increase that by 1 or 2 or what have you. And more likely than not, they're going to forget it. And then it's going to need to be reset. And when you do start having to go back into your sites on multiple devices, that actually exposes you more. If there is a rogue app on any of your devices that has some kind of keylogger, that's how it's getting it. So those type of passwords are not particularly good. A really favorable way is simply a 3-word sentence, and whatever is required. Some places just require you to have a number or an uppercase or a wildcard. But if you just have 3 words in a row that you can remember well, you're probably going to be getting 12 to 15 characters, and that is where it's really hard to break. So you can have 1 uppercase, 1 letter, 1 wildcard, and just 3 words in a row. Security is important. If you wrote down those 3 letters in a sentence, very secure, incredibly secure, and easy to memorize. So that's our recommendations, along with password password management tools like LastPass or OneLogin. Those are excellent because they are not sending your password across the internet. It's cached on your system and it's sent. Those are much more secure because that information is not being sent across the internet. I would watch out for any time that you're in your browser, that you're having your browser save your password, be that Chrome or Edge or any of them. This is a really bad idea. It is so easy to get into and get access to any password you store in there. It's quite simple. So you really shouldn't be saving your passwords to anything that you care about. Firewalls are for architecture firms. I'm not saying firewalls aren't important, but for architecture firms, they're just not really worth the cost anymore. Firewalls often cost in excess of a few $1,000s, and then you have to pay for the software to renew each year. Some of them are, again, they're fantastic at preventing intrusion, but it doesn't seem to be worth it in our estimation. So because a lot of the documents and security is going to the other side of the firewall, this is becoming less and less important to architecture firms. If you're a hedge fund, if you are any kind of network data center, incredibly important, and those are the guys who should be spending thousands of dollars on firewalls and hardware. But for architecture firms, save your money, get mobile, get agile, and spend your money elsewhere. Encryption, email, website. This is really important stuff. Encryption is not only full disk encryption on your computers and on your servers. If someone does get onto your network, if they don't have local credentials, they won't be able to see any of your files. And even if they do, it's just going to be a big mess. They're not going to be able to derive any information on that. Similar goes with emails. A lot of people think that emails are inherently secure, and they're not. If you're sending any kind of important information, you really should look to get encrypted email systems. Perhaps not for the entire office, but definitely for your C-level people and directors. And it goes without saying that you should never send a password via email. Secure websites. Most websites do have that secure channel. It's just the S on the HTTPS. If it doesn't have an S, it doesn't have a secure certificate for that which means, as an analogy, it's the difference between pulling your shades and walking past them, and just having your shades open. If you're on a website and you're putting in any of your information, anyone on the internet that knows your IP address and where you might be going, they can sniff that information. You can see it if you're trying to attack those websites. So that's something that we've been seeing recently, that there have been some unencrypted, unsecure or insecure websites, and we just ask for those people not to fill out that information on there. So that is pretty logical. Control. So this has changed significantly in the past 5 years. Previously, if there were an attack, we we thought that we were being terribly clever, and we found ways around it. So what we would do is Agile would take a backup system. We would put it on a different subnet on your network, so that if an attack happened to your server, it wouldn't even see your backup. So it couldn't browse the network and attack your backup system. We also had different administrative privileges on the backup system than we had on the server. And we thought we were just clever as anything. And then what ransomware started doing, this didn't attack any of our clients, but then we just saw that they changed tactics. So like all the other IT firms, we just got really good backups, and so did the industry. So then ransomware, what they started doing was they started attacking the backups first. So they wouldn't attack the server first. They would lie in wait. They would find the backup systems that they could, and they would attack those. And they would either encrypt or erase them, or somehow take them offline. Then they would attack your files, and then send you the ransom letter saying what they have done. Then firms that had even better backups, either to the cloud or an encrypted system or really strong controls, comes exposure. So what some of the attacks are doing now is they are copying all of your data, saving that to the cloud, and then they're telling firms that they're going to expose all of this information. And this is a very interesting attack for our firms who are doing government contracts, and anyone who has an NDA with any of these large companies. We can't tell you how many firms we know that work with Google and they have NDAs. What does it mean for your firm if your product just gets exposed? Do you lose the contract, or is this covered under cyber insurance? So what we've been doing because of this is, because the attacks keep getting more and more sophisticated, we find we can't put up walls, we can't put in security measures, so we go through scenarios. What would happen if your data was exposed? How does that affect your business? How does that affect possible litigation? Does your cyber insurance cover up to how much, and what kind of attacks, and what kind of security do you have to have in place for your cyber insurance to cover these types of things? So we found this. 77% of organizations do not have a cybersecurity incident response plan, and it's simple enough to put one together. We have one, a very skeleton one that will provide a handout, and you can just follow that and just tick some boxes, and you will have a cybersecurity incident response plan. Better just have it just so when if it does happen, you know who needs to be called, who your rep is at cyber insurance, who your NDA clients are. The plan is already set into place, so you're not reactive. And your clients would probably really appreciate knowing that you have this. VPNs. So this has been, it's old technology, but it's very useful to use this to connect to your system. We use it in a number of ways. So our favorite way is to simply connect our clients on this VPN, virtual private network. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's virtually private. So we connect to our systems, and then they use another piece of software to remote into their office desktop usually for more powerful systems. So they're using laptops at home, very, very thin, light laptops with a spare monitor. Connect to your office computer, and you're off and running. We prefer that clients do not try to connect to the VPN and start using that to directly manipulate files on the server. It's just not as secure. We're doubling the complexity or tripling the complexity of our systems when you do something like that. Everyone has to have a modern OS. I know that Macintoshes run pretty well for years and years, and you'll have a computer that's 8 or 9 years old, and you'll have an OS that has some of the big cats on it and not mountains or other items that Macintosh Apple likes to name their machines. And it's a security concern, to connect these outside things. Who knows what kind of programs you're actually running? So we do try to stem that if we can. But we do like VPNs for when you're on that same laptop and you're on a Wi-Fi that you cannot control. Definitely, it's very useful to have some kind of private VPN. There are you've probably heard on many podcasts, it's very popular. NordVPN, TunnelBear, Penguin. They like animals. And there's so many others. You can sign up for those, and they work great. They work great. You quickly say, I'm in Belgium, I'm in Brazil. A lot of people like to use this for Netflix and things like that. It's as useful for security. If you are thinking about implementing something like this, it's fairly simple for your IT provider to actually create your own. You can go on GoDaddy, Azure, DigitalOcean. You can quickly spin up your own VPN server, and then it's yours. And then no one else is kind of sniffing your data. Although these VPN providers do protect you from other people accessing your data, I'm sure that there are still log files that they're keeping to see who's going where. So this could help prevent that. And again, it's fairly inexpensive. It definitely costs less per month to create your own and for your entire office. And it's something that would be useful to implement, especially now that we're going more remote and you'll be hiring potential staff who are not in your office and you have less control over. So And I just went over all of the why, when, and how to use these VPNs from the previous slide. So on-prem and cloud services. On-premises services, little by little, they're really going away. Other than the physical material consumables that many firms have, be that printing, of course, some old stations using as render farms, although there are better ways to do that. 3D modeling, laser cutters, model shop. These things make a lot of sense to have on premises. Our contention right now is that pretty much everything else should be in the cloud if you have the technical appetite for this. File server security, directory services, everything should be up there, and you'd be surprised at the cost savings of these. So passwords, I did go over this in a previous slide about how password resets and complexity. It's really an old way to go. A lot of systems have a lot higher security with either MFA, now that's multi-factor authentication. You've seen this as a text message that comes to your phone, or the Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator, one of these. Maybe you're more sophisticated and have Okta or Duo connected for your SSO, which combines all of your accounts into one, which is a great way to do it. So if there is some kind of attack, you can quickly shut down that vector. So if someone gains access to your Instagram account, or your email gets hacked and suddenly you're sending out spam to a lot of places, you can affect password changes in one place. So that makes it very convenient, not only for administrators like us, but we can make this self-serve as well. So with a small amount of training, change my password, and you're off and running. This we're seeing is a great advantage to security management as well. Being able to really quickly ascertain some kind of breach and close it quickly, and have it not affect other systems. We did go over passwords on the earlier slide. And again, these are even quicker, going away faster and faster. In fact, Microsoft has a new product that it's completely passwordless. So just get ready that passwords, little by little, are going to be a thing of the past, and different systems are going to be implemented for better security. I like where Microsoft is going. I do like the multi-factor in the single sign-on. There's some very exciting biometric things. I'm not really a fan of using your face to log in, or using your fingerprint or your retina. I'm not such a fan of those types, but one that I really do like is that they have the arm speed of your hand with your phone going up to your ear. So this angle and this speed and this length is as good as a fingerprint, and it's not as personal and identifiable as fingerprint or retina scan. And they can use this as a biometric. They also have these little security keys. You've seen them, that they're used for the banks for a long time, using usually a 4 to 6 number code. They also have these little thumb drives, these YubiKeys that you can keep with you, and when you plug them in, that is a multi-factor identifier. Those are fairly inexpensive and incredibly secure. Password managers, again, we reviewed that a little bit before. they're very useful and they're very secure. If you're not ready to deal with the multi-factor or go through the effort of single sign-on, a very, very secure way to use something like OneLogin or LastPass. They're really good. I can't stress enough. Please do not use your Chrome or Edge password management. It is a security breach waiting to happen, and then they will have all of your passwords for everything once they breach those, and they know to attack those as well. This again will be noted on the handout that you should probably go in and purge those and use something else. Some people just do not like multi-factor. They do not like getting a one-time text to them. They don't like putting in a 7-digit code. Microsoft has made it so simple that you just have to turn on your phone and say approve. Like, approve, is this you? And people just do not like that. It is a very secure way, and it has saved a lot of firms a lot of headaches. Those firms that turn off multi-factor are just a difficult day waiting to happen. So this is why Microsoft has forced a lot of things with Office 365 and Azure connection and many others. Any billing, any online billing software, they force you to have multi-factor, and it makes sense. The good news is we can implement this with single sign-on, so we can actually kind of embed the multi-factor with the security with single sign-on, so that you can sign on once to and attach that to your device, to your login, to your desktop, and that can then log you into all of your other services, so you don't have to do a multitude of logins. So, spear phishing. This is where it gets a little fun. Spear phishing is when you get that frantic email from the owner of the company that you must go and buy $500 worth of Walmart gift cards and give back to them, or Apple or Google, and it works. We've seen it. We've stopped a number of these with our clients. We do have some wording in the back end of some of our security systems that if it says things like this, just throw a flag. Maybe they do need these gift cards from Walmart. We certainly don't want to judge anybody on where they like to shop, but generally we just don't see that with our type of firms. So what we're usually seeing is it's usually they are attacking the receptionists or some of the junior level people. That seems to happen, and they are attacking from knowledge from your web page. So if you show your directors and your owners and your CFO on your web page, and you don't have a complicated naming convention, so if you just say first name at architecturefirm.com, they just have bots that are just searching for those, and they'll go to your website, figure out who the C-level people are, and then they'll just start really sending out these phishing campaigns. So they're quite good at that, and you should set up some pretty simple ways to get around this. One is for your C-level people, they should have, I guess we'll call it irregular naming conventions for their emails. Or if you do have a regular, first name or first name dot last name at architecture firm, have that screened by reception or someone as well. Also have a protocol. Have a protocol that, just to let people know, we do not have these high anxiety, you must get this now type items, and if this is a request, just get sign off. These attacks are so sophisticated that they could have access to your email and your calendar, and they know that you're in a meeting, and then they'll send an email saying, hey, I'm in a meeting, get this now. If you just give your staff agency to think about what's happening and come back to you, and kind of push back a little bit, if you have a culture of a little more discernment, this will go a long way. And again, we'll put that in the checklist that you should be bringing back to your firm, and just having a 1 or 2 minute conversation with everybody about this. It will save you. Another easy system that has become almost not mundane, but this was a system that we were hoping for years ago, and nobody really had it. And then a few firms started providing this, but they were very expensive. And now it's commonplace. Inside of Microsoft's back end, they actually have phishing simulators. You can see see who's responded to them, who's opened them, who's clicked on them, and it's a variety of simulators. You can say things to the effect of, you must get me these Walmart cards at that level. Also, you have won a $50 Amazon gift card for clicking this. Also, your IT has decided that your security is not up to snuff, so you have to change your password, and then it'll bring you to a fake site to then capture your password. And 50 others. They're already there. If you're using Office 365, it's already there, and I highly recommend using these simulators just to see who needs some training and who is subject to these things. So, good news and bad news. So, some of the good news is the cost of these types of security software continue to go down. They still sell them. Some are better than others. We particularly like ones that have a small footprint on your system, so they're not using up that much memory. And sometimes antivirus things seem like a virus themselves, the way they don't allow you to work at the speed you want to. Simple things like mail filters, DNS filters. These are things that if you do get a phishing attack, or if it is redirecting you to a known bad malicious website, it just won't let you go there. So this does protect from some human error, as well as these honeypots that we can put on the network, or rather can be put on the network. It's just an intriguing thing like payroll.xls. So we see who wants to see what people are making in the firm, or accounts receivable.xls, and whoever touches that, we get to see not only from internal staff attacks, but external. They would go after these things as well, and those are great to attract some kind of attack, and then give you a heads up on something's happening before something bad happens. And again, from what we've gathered online, 95% of security breaches are due to human error. And we can fix a lot of things with technology, but with protocol, policy, and a little education, it's going to go a lot further. So not that we're, speaking against our own endeavors, but this is the way to go. A little education goes much, much longer. But when it doesn't, we have a safety net. So, like I was saying earlier, cyber insurance just really wasn't a thing. It started to mature about 3 years ago. We would see coverages that were in these policies, and they were very strange. There were these policies that essentially they just threw out a number, and they say, how does a couple $1,000s for a couple $100,000 worth of coverage sound? It really didn't cover the scenarios. Like the attacks could be various types of attacks, and they would have different impacts. So a virus or a worm or malware or ransomware and encryption, and what would the attack be? How would it affect business? How could you recover from business? What is the timeline? What is the staffing, downtime cost? What are they doing? Also, we were going back to them with, if we show you what kind of security measures we have implemented, what are the backups? Can we reduce either the cost of the policy, or can we get an increased amount for the amount that we're spending on this policy? And it was just no. It was just no. It is what it is, and that's all they had. In the past 3 years, it's gotten better. They are now showing line items of all the different things that they're going to cover, like staff lost time, recovery, having a recovery team, a mitigation team come on site to help, even negotiating with the ransomware people, like that's even in there. It's still interesting because we were looking at implementing a number of security measures, but this puts the onus on the client, and these were going to cost thousands and thousands of dollars to implement. Yet if they didn't and they got attacked, the cyber insurance would pay for it. So it puts you in this weird position that financially perhaps it's better if you get attacked. So that didn't really sit well with us. So that's why we just shifted the way we're doing things. So we are going through, like we were saying, these scenarios and having the client go back to their insurance company, their clients, and see what is their exposure and what is their appetite. So that seems to be working really well, so that everybody is aware that security concerns have really increased over the years, and we're trying to stay forever one step ahead. That pretty much completes the main topics I wanted to talk about. We will have some handouts and some checklists for you to take back to your teams and implement these. Happy to answer any questions you may have directly. You can email me, Brian, at agilenet.works with those, and happy to review that. We are going to have a few more deeper security discussions as well as other hybrid implementations that can be happening. So here are just some quick little things we wanted to go over that people might have some questions or concerns about. Security versus convenience. That is really the crux of everything we just covered. It really comes down to if people have to click one more button, they just won't do it. So we're looking at setting up these systems that does make it as convenient as possible. So single sign-on, cloud, having a cloud file system, having everything connected as well, and and having systems in place so that if anything does happen, you're covered for just wanting to get the work done. IoT, Internet of Things security. So this is something that clients really aren't thinking about. There are a lot of smart panels and smart lights and switches and power outlets and light bulbs. Everything is IoT, and it's on your network, and you have no idea what that is doing. So if you are implementing these items, do set them on a different VLAN. Do set them on a different Wi-Fi. Do not put them on your regular Wi-Fi. It's something that you don't really have to be too paranoid about, but why not just keep the robots off your network? They just if you wouldn't want them accessing your file server, they just shouldn't be on the same LAN as that. So it's really easy to just remove them and secure them. And then you can really watch what kind of traffic happens with that. Opening regular old emails. This is a security item that people really don't know about. So if you open an email on your phone and say you're on site, say you have a job in Wyoming, and you get an email from us saying, hey, come to our security consort. We can see where you are, and that should be concerning. In fact, most of the emails that you open have some kind of tracking on them, and it's just something you should be made aware of. Like, that is easily accessible by anyone with a MailChimp or Constant Contact account, and it just goes just much deeper, of course, for all of the other websites that you go to on tracking. So that's something that you should just know. Identity theft. So I'm gonna mix this in with social engineering. This is something that it's still out there. There are simple ways to protect against it. If someone wants to take over one of your accounts, what they can do is they can call, if they know what cell phone provider you have, they can call the cell phone provider, and with social engineering, that's just basically con artist is what it is, a confidence person. And they can say, oh, I'm on vacation. I lost my phone on vacation. I need to get a new phone. Here's my new IMEI number. Can you transfer that to my phone? Now they're you, and you won't know what happened. Then anything that you have that is multi-factor from your cell phone, they can go in and say, just send me the one-time password, and they're you now. So pretty easy to get around. You just have to go to your phone provider, make sure you set up a PIN. That's really easy. Zero Trust. That is well, not new, but it's becoming more and more common way to view security. It's basically, just as it sounds, zero trust. Everything on the network that you have, just assume that it can be compromised, or it is compromised, and just approach your usage to it in that way. So if you get a new computer for your finance person, what should you do to ensure that your financials are secure? Should this person be going to certain websites? Should they be using a different browser? Should they be using a computer that's offline to the internet? Potentially, that might be too much. Or should they just have a cloud accounting system, which also then the security onus goes to the provider, which again, they have a team of security people, and that is probably a better way to go. And some dark web. That's becoming really popular with dark web screening. Again, there's just no end to the levels and depth and breadth of security concerns. This is another one. As long as you take certain protocols to heart that do have good passwords, do have password manager, don't store stuff on your browser password manager. Get a real one, or start actually using Authenticator. Start using single sign-on. The dark web stuff is little you can do about it because that information is out there. It is useful to know that maybe some of the passwords that you use are on the dark web and have been compromised. But again, if you just use long, complex passwords and change them, I would say maybe yearly. That seems reasonable. Sometime around maybe part of your New Year's resolution, just update your password. And again, this becomes quite easy if you are using a single sign-on solution. And that's about it. I hope you all enjoyed and aren't too scared. I hope I calmed you more than we scared you, and looking forward to any questions that you have. Thank you very much. See you soon.